What's up, YouTube? This is True Raw for TV. So before I get into the video, I want to wish everyone listening a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday weekend. And I hope you enjoy the time that you have. Those of you who are off, hope you enjoy the time that you have with your family. And you know that's important this time of the year. Not everyone has family. So I want to talk about this game right here, the Knicks and the Hawks. Of course, these two teams met up last year in the playoffs in the first round. The Hawks defeating the Knicks. Can't remember the spread. It might have been 4 games to 2 or something like that. 4 games to 1. Can't remember the spread. But both teams have been disappointing this year. I mean, when you consider what happened last year, the Knicks had that surprising run last year after a long time of not making the playoffs. They made the playoffs. Julius Randle had a very dominant second half uh, last year to the point where he was briefly in the talks for MVP. This year, he has struggled as well as the New York Knicks. The Atlanta Hawks, of course, made that improbable run to the Eastern Conference Finals, eventually losing to the eventual champion Milwaukee Bucks. But this year, they have struggled. A little bit, I think a little bit with that comes expectation. Uh, when you are an upstart team, you're not really playing with any pressure because nobody has expectations. And, you kind of a little bit carefree with that. But when you are dared to do it again, there's a little bit of pressure. So sometimes that can be more challenging. But of course, all these teams have been also affected by what's going on. But then again, both teams were struggling before the outbreak, so I can't say that was it either. But anyway, the big story in this game, of course, no Derrick Rose for the Knicks. Derrick Rose announced earlier this week that he was out after undergoing ankle surgery, and he will not return for about 2 more months. So they will be without Derrick Rose, New York Knicks. In this game, the big difference to me was the three ball. The Knicks were exceptional from outside, hitting 40% of their threes. They made 20 of them. And the Atlanta Hawks were not terrible, but they didn't make as many and they weren't quite as accurate. I think it was 34% from three. Um, I guess the main player I want to highlight in this video is Kemba Walker. Of course, Kemba Walker was benched earlier this year by Tom Thibodeau because of the perception that he was hurting the team defensively. Now, some of that was spearheaded by analytics, which to me has some merit, but it's not the be all end all. Sometimes analytics are misleading. And I think some of these analysts, some of them, overly rely on analytics, Nick, right? And, but then again, Kemba Walker has been struggling. He had been struggling mightily. And that benching, I think, was something that uh, probably affected him, considering this was a guy that was, I'm sure it affected him, not probably. This is a guy that was a perennial all star in his days with the Charlotte Hornets. And after his struggles with Boston, that didn't work out. He goes to New York and struggles mightily. But then, in the aftermath of Derrick Rose's injury, he scores 44 points, albeit in a loss. And today he had a triple double, the first triple double that he has secured in some 6 years. Now, this triple double was not one of those stat padding triple doubles, in my opinion. This was one of those games where he just played well, especially in the first half. Now, one of the things that Kemba Walker is going to have to work on is his consistency. He's been very inconsistent as a player over the past 3 seasons, but I wish him the best. The Knicks are going to need him to play very well, um, especially in the absence of Derrick Rose, as well as they're going to need to have Julius Randle play better, and they're going to need to rely on more than just Julius Randle to turn this thing around if they're going to turn it around. For Atlanta Hawks, you know, I don't know what it is. You know, I honestly think it's what I just said earlier with expectations. And then another thing that I've noticed is, you know, you have certain players, right? During the playoffs, when they're on the last end of their contract, they're motivated. They're motivated to play hard because they want that big money. But then once they sign that big contract, I've noticed a lot of times players, their play will go down. Their level of play go down, their intensity go down. And you know why? Because now they secured the bag. That motivation isn't there anymore. I'm not going to say anybody's particular name, but that's been always something I noticed since I was a kid. I started figuring out, I'm like, wait a minute, you know what? I notice a lot of these guys when they are in the last year of their contract and they make the playoffs, or even before that, even in the regular season, they're not going to make the playoffs. You guys are getting 20. Like if he's a scorer, he gets 31, 36, 38. Or if he's like a front court player, 23 and 15. He have a stretch where he's averaging 18 points and 14 rebounds. Then he signs that big contract, and then the very next year he's only averaging 8 and 8. Money is a big motivator. So it is what it is, man. But tell me what you guys think.